Hey there guys, what's going on? This is Ryan Knows Tech with TechInform.us and welcome to the beginning of yet another work week. Today's Sunday. Don't know if I'm going to get this video up Sunday or Monday, but it is going to count as Monday's video. I'm leaving at the end of the week, so this week's going to be a little bit different. Don't know if I'm going to get content up Thursday and Friday. Anyhow, we're going to be comparing the original iPad, as seen on the left, to the new iPad, as seen on the right. The one on the left is obviously black. It's the only one that they offered. It's the 16 gig Wi-Fi only model, and the one on the right is also black. It is also the Wi-Fi only model, but it's 32 gig instead of 16. I just needed more space. So if you checked the channel out a couple days ago, I posted a video from waiting in line at the Summit Mall, Akron, Ohio Apple store. There were hundreds of people there. I was there at about 2:15. I got it by 5:30. So the first thing we're going to talk about in this comparison, not review, but just comparison, is the form factor of the device. And that's definitely one of the big things that Apple changed. They made it a lot thinner. And when I say a lot, 33%. Okay, so that's a third. It is really quite the difference, though, and you feel it immediately after picking it up. I'll hold them up like this, and you can really see that it's a tapered edge now. And as a lot of people have already demonstrated online, the original iPad has this wobble. So if you're using it on a flat surface, it's going to wobble around like that. The new iPad over here is a flat back, somewhat like the iPod Touch 4. So you're not going to get that wobble at all. Pushing on the sides here, it's just perfectly flat. Having said that, it may be, I would say, harder to scratch on the back by putting it on a wood surface like this. Obviously, I'm not moving it around and putting pressure on it. But there's a lot more of the aluminum making contact, so it's less force per square inch, I guess you could say. Whereas on the back of the original iPad, it kind of bubbled up towards the middle, and that was only one or two places making contact with the surface it's on. So thinness you can definitely feel, and it's definitely really nice. It feels better in the hands. Not saying this one's fat, because by all means it isn't. So weight. They took 0.2 pounds off. All right, big deal, 0.2 pounds. But when the whole thing only weighs 1.5, you immediately feel 0.2 pounds. I know a lot of people said, oh, I don't feel 0.2 pounds. Well, I definitely do. You pick this up, first impressions, it's incredibly thin and it's incredibly light, which is always welcome. All the buttons are in the same place aside from other, I guess I did change the speaker. The speaker is now back here. We'll be doing a short speaker test in a little bit, I guess, whereas the old one was on the bottom over here on the right side. The buttons are in the same place, and now we have a camera on the front on the new iPad 2 and one there on the back up in the top left. So physical changes are definitely real nice. So both of these devices are powered off. They're both running iOS 4.3, the final build from iTunes. So we're going to go ahead and boot them up here. I'm going to try to make this as fair as possible, but sometimes it is hard to hit them at the exact same time. So I did actually hit those pretty close, and the iPad 1 did jump to the boot splash a little bit quicker, but we'll see how the specs are going to affect these two different models. So I'll go over the specs real quick. They're both offered in 16, 32, and 64 gigabyte flash memory. That's no surprise. The original iPad has a A4 processor. It's one core at 1 gigahertz. Great chip. The iPad 2 has 2 cores at 1 gigahertz. It's dubbed as the Apple A5 processor, so it's really just an updated chip. Go ahead and log in. Surprise, surprise, you know my password. Oh, I bet you're happy. So neither of them are slow, and this is a trend that we're going to see throughout both of these devices, that the iPad 2 is just about 10% faster at doing most everyday tasks than the iPad 1. And if we come over here, you'll see that the brightness is exactly halfway. Do the same thing. And over here, the brightness is exactly halfway. Now, the ambient light sensor, the iPad 1 is closer to the light that I'm using to make this video, so the ambient light sensor may affect that. Let's go ahead and go into settings. Can't do any of this today. And you notice settings actually loaded a little bit quicker from just the time that it opened. Of course, I opened it quicker. And we'll turn off auto brightness, which definitely brought the brightness of the screen down a little bit. Back over here, auto brightness is now off, so that one came up. I think the iPad 2's display in general is a little bit brighter, which is not a big deal. It's probably better. Granted, it is newer and has been used a lot less. So open apps right now. We've got settings and Safari on both devices. We'll go ahead and kill those. I know they don't take RAM as it's more of app switching, but to keep it fair, those are now closed. And we're going to try to do some fair launch tests of different applications, but as I said before, that is relatively difficult. So we'll start off with Safari. It's going to load my home page, which is Google. We're on the same Wi-Fi network, which is a very poor network because it's hosted by Time Warner Cable. And both of them loaded it pretty quickly. Google, we've got one tab open. Now, I didn't clear my cache. How about we go ahead and do that and see if that makes any difference? For those of you who constantly ask me how you do this, it's in Settings, Safari, and then just Clear Cache. The bottom option and Clear. Done. So we'll go back into Safari and we'll load our site, techinform.us. I have it saved as a bookmark up here. Excuse the reach. So it should work. Now, we're doing this because the processor is really about twice, for all intents and purposes, the power of the iPad 1 in the iPad 2. And this was really close, and I pretty much did hit them at the same time. You saw this was just literally a half a second ahead. You can see as our featured image changes there, the iPad 2 is just a little bit ahead because it was there first. And scrolling on both models seems to be real smooth. I've done these tests before. I mean, there's no problems, and the pinch and zoom here is great. And we'll try it over here. Same story. You may get occasionally the checkerboard pattern as it hasn't loaded it yet, a little bit more often on the iPad 1, but it's what I've showed you so far is by all means no reason to go out and spend several $100s to upgrade unless you're a tech enthusiast. So we'll try one more site. Let's just do yahoo.com. It's not real intensive, but it does have quite a few images on it, so we'll give that a go. Alright, that was pretty quick here on the iPad 2, and the iPad 1 was just a second behind, so not too bad at all. Let's go in and do some more intensive applications like Asphalt 6. Now, to be fair, Asphalt 6 has been installed on the original generation iPad for a lot longer. There go all three iOS devices. But iOS Asphalt has been installed here a lot longer. It's in my games folder right here. So it may have more app data than the iPad 2, but we will try to launch those at the same time. And they're going to be loud. And the trend continues with the iPad 2 being just a hair ahead of the iPad 1. You can kind of see a delayed reflection effect, I guess, here, as the iPad 1 just trails behind a tiny bit. We'll see if we can get out of here at the same time. Fail. But anyways, I have spent some time gaming on the iPad 2, and I've spent plenty of time gaming on the iPad 1, and it is just a little bit quicker in between menus, and I don't even think I hit that. And options on the iPad 2. Notice Career's at 100%, here it's only on 0%. So applications are definitely quicker with the better processor. Also keep this in mind. All of the applications that we're testing today have been designed with this hardware in mind. This is the device and the operating system on the device that all of the developers have built the software for. It's all built for the iPad 1 GHz solo core. Applications have not yet been modified and optimized for the iPad 2's better hardware. So I expect in the future applications will become better, faster, quicker, of course, just an all-around enhancement. As far as graphics go, any applications that I've tested have been built for the iPad 1, not yet optimized for the iPad 2's hardware. So they both look great. You are going to experience slightly better frame rates on the iPad 2 just due to the better hardware right now. But in the future, I'm sure that over the next couple years and even months, as games are migrated to be designed for the iPad 2, they'll be quicker and better frame rates, just better graphics in general. So expect many enhancements as applications change over the next few weeks. One of the big features that people were excited about with the iPad 2 are the two cameras present on the device. The original generation iPad had no cameras, and I think that's one of the big flaws and that a lot of people complained about, and maybe even waited the extra year for the iPad 2. As I mentioned before, there's one up here for FaceTime at the top of the device right there in the middle, and then the one on the back, as I said before, is in the top left. So on the home screen, there's going to be 3 new icons when you take it out of the box. FaceTime, which is real easy. I mean, if you've ever used any kind of FaceTime, you know what it is. I'm not even going to demonstrate it. But it'll FaceTime between iPod Touch, iPhone, and of course other iPads and Macs. So that you can use the front-facing camera or the rear just like other FaceTime devices. And then the camera app here, it's going to look pretty familiar. We'll go ahead and flip that. There's the front-facing camera. It is not the highest of quality, I'll be honest. The rear-facing camera is very similar to the quality of the iPod Touch camera, which is less than par, I would say. So the cameras really are not that good. So in the iPad 3, I'm hoping they can take the camera out of the back of the iPhone 4, because it's an incredibly good camera. However, the one in the back can support 720p video at, I believe, 30 frames per second. So not too bad, it just isn't the highest quality. And I'll try to make some videos on the iPad 2 itself, edit them in iMovie, and upload them from the iPad in 720p. And I'll let you guys see what that looks like next to the iPhone 4. Back when I uploaded those videos. Another application you've got is Photo Booth. If you've ever used a Mac, you've probably seen Photo Booth in the dock and played with it. It essentially takes your image and then distorts it in one of many different ways. Like if we go to Mirror, stick my hand in here, and I know that's hard to see because it's really close, but it's got the mirror effect. Tap on the bottom left to go back here. Kaleidoscope. I think this is a new one. I don't believe I've ever seen this on the Mac, but it's definitely kind of cool. And I know it's hard to see. I'm in limited room in here, but that's kind of weird. Then you can, of course, take a picture, flip to the back camera. Here's X-ray. Kind of neat. But that's one of the other new applications found on the iPad 2. So the big question of the day is the iPad 2 worth the upgrade over the iPad 1? And just like any other device, and the question, is it worth it? It totally depends on what type of user you are and what you want the device for. If you already have an iPad 1, chances are you're not going to benefit from two relatively low quality cameras, better performance right now. It's nice, but applications aren't optimized for it. And the iPad 1 is by no means slow or sluggish or anything. And this device will be in support for at least another 2 years, I would say. It's back to the specifications thing. I did forget to mention the RAM has changed from 256 meg to 512. That was necessary. That's one of the nice upgrades to me. I think the A5 is really going to play a part in the next couple weeks and couple months, and then the iPhone will get it in June, and then applications will be designed for dual core processors, and that will slowly start to phase out the solo core. The A4, the Cortex, whatever they've used in the 3GS and the 3G iPhones, and then of course the iPod Touches that went along with those iPhones. But the iPad 2 is it is a good upgrade. But if you've already got the iPad 1, chances are you don't need the iPad 2 yet. Really, you can get away with going every other device. For example, iPhone, iPhone 3GS, iPhone 5, iPhone 7, and so on from there. But being a tech reviewer, I'm glad to have one. It really, really does feel great in the hands, though. Real nice. I said we would do that speaker test, so let's go ahead and launch the iPod app here. Has not been opened. They both have the same music on them. Okay, maybe it has been opened. There's Michael Bublé. But we'll go back and I'll pick out a song here for you. Alright, so I have succeeded in picking possibly the oddest Beatles song I possibly have in my collection. But I have set both audio levels on each device to exactly halfway, so we'll see how the volume and sound quality is. Now, the iPad 1 speaker is coming out towards this way. The iPad 2 speaker is kind of coming down, so that may have somewhat of an effect, but we'll see what they sound like on the same surface like this. We'll do the iPad 1 first. It's about 12 seconds. It's not bad. It could definitely be a little louder. We'll do the same test on full volume, back to 0, and play. For the size of the speaker, it really isn't that bad. I didn't think it really needed a big upgrade to the iPad 2, but we'll see what it sounds like now, again on half volume, and then we'll play it on full volume. Should probably start it over, if possible. Honestly, at half volume, I can tell no difference. Let's turn it up all the way and see if it's any louder. Definitely. It's definitely a little louder. Do that again. It's a little louder, and I can hear that it's a little bit clearer. The speaker itself is by all means, again, no reason to go out and buy the iPad 2. So again, it depends on you. If you want the color, if you're thinking of getting a new one, you found a good deal on your old one, then you might as well do it. But it's not a vast upgrade, at least right now. As applications are written and designed and optimized for the iPad 2 over the next several months, it will be more of an upgrade. But the way I see it, the iPad 1 still beats any other tablet out on the market as of the 13th of March 2011. And so the iPad 2 just enhances the iPad 1 to beef up the competition even more. And one other thing I wanted to talk about today was the battery life. We had 10 hours in the iPad, and that's a solid 10 hours. Apple's not kidding. I can literally go a week using the thing every day. Great battery. The iPad 2 battery is like whatever the unit they use is bigger. It's a slightly bigger battery, and it gets 10 hours as well. And from my testing over the past 2 days, yes, they're both fantastic batteries and definitely better than anything else out there on the market. And that's going to conclude the iPad 1 versus the iPad 2. Both are very capable devices. I highly recommend both of them. So thanks for watching the video. I hope that this can help you guys make a decision between each device. For the record, Apple has dropped $100 on this one, so it's a great deal to go out and buy one of those. Having said that, the extra $100 will get you the same size model in the iPad 2. And if you've got the $100, I would definitely recommend it, because over the next couple years, this is going to be a more capable device due to its better hardware. So again, I hoped it helped. Leave some comments down below. I look forward to reading those and seeing what your thoughts are. As we looked at before, our website is techinformed.us. We'll have lots of iPad content up there now, and over the next few days, it's only going to grow. And then my personal Twitter is twitter.com/JamesRSchultz. Again, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like the content. Leave those comments down there, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.